Hello, and welcome to week 6 of the PGL. This week we are taking on Temple, who is really fighting for a playoff spot, and we just need one win out of our next two battles to secure ourselves into playoffs. So this is a very high stakes match. And if you look at my team, you can see I did make two more transactions last week. I've really been mixing up the team these past couple weeks. But I just thought Fungus wasn't doing enough for me. It was too passive a lot of the time, and I wasn't utilizing it correctly because I know it's a great Pokemon. So I swapped it for Breloom so that I could still put things to sleep, but I could also punch. I also swapped out Oricorio for Slowpoke just because I needed the extra points, and Oricorio really wasn't doing that much for me anymore. It had that one really good week, and otherwise, it's just kind of a worse Braviary. So, looking at our opponent's team, we see that we have a huge speed advantage here. A lot of his team is in those slower middling tiers, and the way he's been combating that is he's brought Tailwind on Decidueye, he's brought Rock Tomb on Ting-Lu, and he's brought Trick Room Gothorita. So I know he really likes these first four Pokemon because he's brought them every single week, and he also really likes bringing Gothorita coming to 3 of 5 games and Samurott coming to 4 of 5. So I really prepped heavily around those, but I also took into account that he could bring any of the other 4. So looking at what we're bringing this week, we do have a dedicated lead for game 1 as we usually do. We're bringing the Focus Sash Breloom. Bullet Seed, if it hits at least 4 times, can knock out Ting-Lu immediately, which is pretty sick. We have Rock Tomb that always takes out Volcarona, lowers its speed. We've got the Spore to put any support mons to sleep on the side if Volcarona doesn't go for a Rage Powder. And then Protect, because typically Breloom doesn't run Protect, or at least the default sets I've seen in the past haven't, so I thought it was a good move to have. Beside it, we're going to have Grimmsnarl. We've got the Covert Cloak, so we can't get faked out by the Iron Hands. We've got Taunt to prevent any kind of Tailwind or Trick Room from happening. We've got Reflect and Light Screen because we do want to take this week a little slower. We want to overwhelm him with offense, but we also want to take time to set up where we can. And then we also have Spirit Break just as general coverage. Fairy's pretty good into his team other than the Orthworm and the Volcarona. In the back of game 1, we're going to be bringing the Leftovers Spectre. I know this set is very repetitive, but Spectre has a few things that it does really well. So Shadow Ball and Draining Kiss, great coverage into his team, hit pretty much everything. Will-O-Wisp on hands or on the Ting-Lu is going to be crucial to slowing them down, and I do assume at least one of them is going to be Terra Fire due to that. And then I did want to run Calm Mind really badly. I might still change it, but when I noticed how much Tailwind he had, I wanted to run Protect as a form to stall out both Tailwind and Trick Room if they were to get up around my support Pokemon. I also have Landorus this week with Citrus Fairy, Terra Fire, and we are bringing Swords Dance. So if we can get the screens up, then I think Landorus can really easily take a couple of hits. And with a Swords Dance up, Hammer Arm should pretty much always KO Ting-Lu. Tantrum should always do a huge chunk to the Iron Hands. It might even take out Sylveon in one hit if it's just max health. So we're hoping Landorus does a lot of damage. Again, I didn't have Protect on this at first. I had either Rock Slide or Terra Blast, just in case he manages to get Tailwind or Trick Room up. Protect is crucial to stalling that out and me still having enough pieces alive when it ends. If he decides to go hard Trick Room mode, no Tailwind setters, and he just focuses on getting Gothitelle to set up Trick Room, I do have Delphox to help absolutely counter it. Delphox is also a great switch in into Sylveon, because Hyper Voice just does negligible damage to it. We've got the Heat Wave, really good spread damage against him, ignores the Volcarona Rage Powder. We've got Psyshock because hitting a Assault Vest Iron Hands or a Quiver Dance to Volcarona can be really big if we hit them on the physical side. We can 2-hit KO a lot of them. We've got Will-O-Wisp to, like I said before, burn those two big heavy hitters, and then we've got the Trick Room. Last but not least is Lycanroc. If we determine that he does not care about speed control, if he doesn't have Tailwind and he doesn't have Trick Room, or he's at least not focusing on them, Lycanroc goes absolutely insane. Accelerock will always KO a Volcarona that doesn't Terrasilize. We've got Close Combat with Terra Fighting that takes out like half of his team. Anything that doesn't resist it, it does a huge chunk of damage to. We've got Play Rough to hit his Pokemon that are weak to Fairy, so the Iron Hands, the Ting-Lu. It's just those two are so hard for my team to knock out in one hit that having a move on every Pokemon that does decent damage to them means that I should be able to clear them after they've protected or after we find out they don't have Protect. And then finally we have Ironhead. I really debated Crunch in this slot because it was stronger into Decidueye and a couple of his other Pokemon, but at the end of the day, I thought being able to one-shot Sylveon most of the time meant more. So yeah, general game plan is to scout his sets game 1, see what kind of speed control he's going for, and try to counter that in games 2, and if it comes to it, game 3. But without further ado, let's get to the battle. Alright, we are back. We already have every game loaded up, ready to go. So we see that he does bring the core 4 that we expected. This is the first time he's brought Earthworm, but I did anticipate it, so we do have some counterplay into it. It does wall our Breloom, so we need to keep that in mind that it walls Breloom plus Grimmsnarl, so if he leads it, I just have to taunt it and try to get something else in. And then he brings the Electrode, and the Electrode's Terra Grass, so I anticipated if he brought Electrode, it would be Terra Ice, so that's kind of a surprise. So no Decidueye, no Gothorita, which is interesting to see, makes Delphox a little bit worse at least. No Samurott that he's really been liking lately, so interesting to see that as well. And then no Altaria. So I'm totally okay with that. The less Pokemon that can change his speed, the better. So we do see he really does not have much in the way of speed control. He has Tailwind, Volcarona, and then he has things like Rock Tomb. But otherwise, his main speed control is just the super fast Electrode that I've hopefully put enough bulk onto my Mons to actually tank hits. So if we look at his Terra types, Iron Hands is a water type. So glad it's not fire. That means I can actually burn it. Volcarona is an ice type, so that makes me think it's definitely more offensive and less of the Rage Powder set this week, so that it can OHKO the Landorus. But it's still weak to Rock, so Lycanroc actually looks great. Ting-Lu is the Fairy type, so that makes it quite a bit more difficult for us to break through because it does remove most of its weaknesses, but we do have the Iron Head on the Lycanroc, so that could be useful. Sylveon is a water type. That is his favorite other than Dragon Sylveon on occasion, so that checks out. Earthworm is a ghost. That's cool. But that does make him very weak to Spectre, so I'm okay with that. And then the Electrode is a grass type, or grass Terra type, so doubled up. Grass moves can really do a ton of damage to things like Lycanroc. Probably one-shots, something like a Leaf Storm probably does one-shot Spectre as well. So leftovers, maybe not the best item here, but we're going to make do. So we're going to lead our Shroom, we're going to lead with Grimmsnarl, and then our first plan was to have Spectre in the back, which it does look kind of worse here now without some of the Mons that I expected him to bring. But I will still bring it game 1, and I will bring the Landorus. So we do have our new custom sprite. A friend of mine helped make it, so it fits pretty well into the frame. Leads with Ting-Lu plus Electrode. What is that gonna do? I know that Electrode gets taunt, but I'm not really sure what he wants to do. He could taunt either one of my Pokemon, but not both. I could Spore the Ting-Lu immediately, or just Bullet Seed. And I could get a screen up. This is tough. So he has no fake out. I think I will just Bullet Seed into the Ting-Lu. We will do at least like 50%. If he Terras, and that's okay. And I will just set up a light screen because this Electrode, if it Terras turn 1, could actually probably KO Grimmsnarl. Okay, so the Ting-Lu Terras immediately. He does taunt Breloom. And we Bullet Seed, and we're seeing it's doing about 11 per hit. So we can run the calc on that really quick. So a Ting-Lu that's Terra Fairy. That's a very strong Ting-Lu. So he did Heavy Slam into Grimmsnarl. Without a screen up, yeah, that Heavy Slam does a lot, but I guess we could have taunted the Electrode. That's actually a misplay on my part because we do have the Prankster taunt. Another Bullet Seed won't KO this, and the Electrode is pretty annoying here. He might just want to go for another Heavy Slam onto our Grimmsnarl. And a Rock Tomb, if we slow down the Electrode, probably means our Spectre outspeeds it, almost certainly. And we do also want to burn the Ting-Lu when we can. So we'll just Rock Tomb into the Electrode, actually. And I think I will go for a Reflect. Okay, so he does Protect. We get another screen. We don't hit the Electrode because it protects, and he bulldozes. Okay, so that's his speed control, is bulldoze. That's good to know. I still think Electrode really can't do much to our Breloom, and unless he's a very fast Ting Lu, we do still outspeed it. So I can just go for a Bullet Seed into the Ting Lu. The way he's playing this makes me think it might be Assault Vest, so we do have to be wary of that. And I do think the Electrode probably wants to attack here. I don't really know what he's doing to Landorus with either of these, so I think I actually will bring it in. We will kind of ignore the Electrode for now. So, early game, this is not going how I expected. I really did anticipate, Volcarona hands, trying to get something set up. It does Energy Ball with a light screen, it only does 22. We do launch another Bullet Seed, we get 3 hits again, which is pretty normal, and he does 27 to Breloom, so that's not bad. So we've seen Energy Ball, Taunt Protect, probably Electric move. So Breloom can do whatever it wants this turn. He can't taunt me right away. So if we look at that Electrode set real quick, so it's just a pretty standard offensive Electrode. We do have the Terra Fire, we do have the Hammer Arm. Does Stomping Tantrum knock out the Ting Lu from where it is? Or do I have to set up a Sword Stance? I probably have to set up a Sword Stance. So I will keep him honest. If he wants to attack with the Electrode this turn, I will just be sleeping the Ting Lu. So he is forced to taunt me, and I will just Sword Stance. Okay, nice. He protects. We get a Sword Stance up, go for the Spore, put the Ting Lu to sleep, and it takes its first turn. Okay, nice. So Landorus is looking a lot more threatening now. Do I want to Terra with it? Because if I Terra with it, suddenly it has to worry about the bulldozers coming from this guy. But it does mean I will resist future Energy Balls. So Breloom is just kind of vibing. He's not really doing anything here, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid. I could try doubling up into the Electrode since it did just protect. So I do think I will go for a Rock Tomb into it. Ting Lu could wake up, which is an issue. He could bring an Earthworm to either slot to avoid a ground type attack from Landorus. I do think I will Stomping into the Ting Lu, even though it's asleep. Trying to eliminate it before it wakes up would be nice. So he's still thinking, but slowing this down means Spectre is guaranteed faster. If we can just start eliminating it, I think we're doing good. So Energy Ball does 22 again. We Stomping, get rid of the Ting Lu. He has no more Terra. And wow, Rock Tomb is almost a 2-shot on the Electrode. We do lose our screen, so Energy Ball will do a sizable chunk to us next time. So we do want to consider Terastallizing next turn. It does have the Sylveon in the back, but unless it's physically defensive, it should never live a hit from Landorus. So if we look, Sylveon, yeah, Stomping Tantrum's always knocking out max health, and if we Terra, Hyper Voice won't knock us out. So I do plan on Terra Firing with the Breloom, with the Landorus. What do I want to do with Breloom? The Electrode almost certainly still outspeeds us, and I think he might just want to go for a Hyper Voice, and maybe Taunt or Protect this. So I think I could Rock Tomb again, and then make him slower than me. I could also Bullet Seed into the Sylveon in case it does live, but it might protect. So I think I will Rock Tomb into the Electrode again. I will go for Terra, and I will Stomping Tantrum the Sylveon. So we get our Fire Terra, he does protect, it's good to see. He taunts Breloom, okay. And we Rock Tomb, knock him down to 6 health, okay, or 6%. He probably knows about this. We don't have Mach Punch because we haven't went for it. He is at half speed, so Breloom might outspeed, it probably doesn't. But we do kind of have a free attack into Sylveon this turn. In the back, he could have Earthworm, he could have the Volcarona, or he could have the Iron Hands. I know he really does favor Iron Hands in a lot of his games, so I do anticipate it being his last Pokemon, but I can't rule out the fact that it might still be the Earthworm that just comes in on a Tantrum. So I think I could Bullet Seed into the Sylveon slot. Well, if I Bullet Seed and Tantrum, I'm still not doing very much to the Earthworm. But I do need to get rid of the Sylveon. I can't protect with Breloom this turn. I could pivot Breloom because Spore looks pretty good into the rest of his team, or Rock Tomb. But I also don't want to take damage on Spectra if I don't have to, and I want to get another screen up with Grimmsnarl if I can. So I think just letting Breloom go down here, Bullet Seeding into the Electro just to take a KO, and then Tantruming into the Sylveon. So we do 98, so it is physically defensive. He has Thunderbolt, knocks us slow, so we know the full set on Electrode now. And he has Yawn. Okay, that's good to know. So he is physically defensive on the Sylveon at least slightly, and there is hands in the bag, so we did kind of call that. So what's his out? His out is putting my Pokemon to sleep, honestly. If he can double protect here, or protect at least one Mon, then Landorus falls asleep and he only has to deal with one side. So I think getting Landorus out would be nice. He almost certainly protects Sylveon here, and he might just fake out the Breloom. So I could double switch, but I think taking a lot of unnecessary damage on Spectra is not really the play. Landorus does just KO this if it is Assault Vest, like I kind of anticipate, but I don't know. This Tinglu really acted Assault Vest without ever going for Protect. I think he might double Protect here to let Landorus fall asleep, so what I will do is I will just Bullet Seed into the Sylveon slot, and I will pivot in the Spectra. So we get that in, fakes out Breloom, he did not protect Hyper Voices. Okay, that's a lot of damage. Breloom goes down. He cannot fake out anymore. So we can get an Intimidate onto the hands. I think that would be nice, because then Spectre really never gets knocked out. And anything knocks out Sylveon. The problem being that unless he's min speed Sylveon or no investment at all, he outspeeds Grimmsnarl. So we don't want to lose the two Pokemon we have remaining. So he's pretty free to attack into Landorus with either this turn. I do think I can just go for a Stomping into the Iron Hands. I don't know, it's hard. I think I Beta Protect with Spectre this turn, because I definitely live a Hyper Voice with Landorus. So I will Protect. He does not Protect with either. He takes 58%. Hyper Voice does not KO Landorus, but Drain Punch will. Okay, so this is tough. We've got Grimmsnarl left, and he's got Hands and Sylveon. So he's really pulled this back. I think I've not played this endgame well because I keep anticipating him to protect the Sylveon, and he's not protecting it. So Grimmsnarl should always be faster than Hands. Based on how much damage the Tantrum did, we can probably figure out if we KO it with Grimmsnarl. So if we look at Iron Hands, Stomping Tantrum did 55 or 58. So if we do the same with our Grimmsnarl set, Spear Break's doing 37 to 45, so it's not doing enough. So I think what I do here is I go for a Reflect, so that Hands can't do that much damage into Spectre, and we try to KO the Sylveon with a Draining Kiss. I think that's our best play. Sylveon does protect. He's gotten me every turn. So we don't get the KO, but he Drain Punches and KOs Grimmsnarl, so that's good to see. With the Reflect, Iron Hand should never KO our Spectre. So if we look at that calc, yeah, a Thunder Punch would do like 25%. So we'll just go for another Draining Kiss onto Sylveon. It doesn't give us much health back, but it's better than going for Shadow Ball just because it gives us a little bit of health. And with the Iron Hands also at -1, yeah, it's really not doing anything. So he does go for the Double Protect, which is the right play. We get 1% of our health back, and we get a boost. He Wild Charges, does 24. That's scary. I think if he had crit on that Wild Charge, let's see, he did 24, so he's more offensive than the standard set in the calc. Might just be max attack. Yeah, probably max attack. Yeah, crit was a roll there to knock us out. But now, if we're +1, Shadow Ball probably knocks us out. Draining Kiss is probably the safer play. I'm pretty sure Draining Kiss is the better play because it accounts for a crit. Okay, and it knocks it out, huh? So this is not a very Spadef Hands. So game 1, We won, if only narrowly. He really did almost clutch that end game with his final two Pokemon. I think I played it very incorrectly, but we did pull through in the end, which, knowing our track record, means that we're going to lose the next two games, but we can hope not. So I'm going to take some notes, and we'll be back with game two. Okay, so for game two, we know a lot about his sets. I don't think he learned too much about mine. He learned he knows my Grimmsnarl's dual screens. He knows that Spectre has Draining Kiss. He knows most of Breloom, but he doesn't know we have Protect, and he knows that I'm SD Stomping Tantrum. So, going with that, I think he brings Orthworm this time. I think Orthworm stops a normal Landorus in its tracks because it would just be Rock Slide plus the Tantrum, maybe Protect. So I think he may not anticipate the Hammer Arm, but he might also think we're Terra Blast Fire, because that would make some sense. I also think Volcarona might show up here. Based on the team he brought, though, I do think Lycanroc is pretty sick into this game. If we look at the custom set of Lycanroc into Ting Lu, that's a Fairy type. Ironhead's 2-hit KOing, so that's not bad. Breloom getting taunted early was pretty annoying, but I think knowing his sets now, he never saw taunt on Grimm, so I think we can still lead it and be really annoying with it. Breloom really kind of rained on Electrode's Parade by resisting both of its stab moves, so I kind of want to bring it again, but I'm not sure. I could also bring Spectre up front this time, try to burn the Ting Lure, the hands, because I did not show Willow last time. I think I will do that. This does mean I'm pretty weakened of the Volcarona lead, but I can't just taunt it. And with that Volcarona lead, I think I will bring the Lycanroc in the back, and I think I will bring Landorus. So good luck, have fun for game two, just because. Does lead the Volcarona, does lead the Electrode. Okay, so Breloom did not dissuade the Electrode. So he could taunt. I'm just going to taunt the Volcarona. And Spectre is not in a great spot here. I think I messed up a little by bringing it in. Electrode would do a lot of damage to Landorus trying to switch in. How much do I do to Electrode with the Spectre? So for a normal Electrode set, Shadow Ball's doing 50 to 60%, so that's not bad. All he can really do is taunt us, so I can just throw a Shadow Ball. I can also protect Spectre, but I do kind of expect him to hit into Grimmsnarl because he wants rid of it. He doesn't want me to get screens up again, so I will just Shadow Ball the Trode. We do taunt the Volcarona. He just Thunderbolts Spectre. He gets the Paralysis. Okay, that's unfortunate. And Shadow Ball does 50, so he does have some health. That's a tough para. So we can look at that Heat Wave and see if he's a bulkier set, though. So looking at Volcarona, Heat Wave into Spectre. Should have done about 30%. It did a little more. Okay, so he's somewhat specially invested, not fully. Definitely want a light screen here. And it's tough. Spectre is kind of dead weight. And I think he might know that. He might ignore it or just go for a Heat Wave to try to KO it. That could mean we could bring in Lycanroc, but I think it's really risky with potential Energy Ball coming off of this. So, sacking Spectre in the past is what's got me in trouble, but I also think that while it's paralyzed, it's really not doing anything. So we'll just protect it for a turn. Get a light screen up, he Energy Balls into the Grimmsnarl instead, and Heat Waves. So Grimm does live, but we are not looking good. I think I will taunt the Electrode this turn, anticipating both of my Pokemon to go down. I also could set up a Reflect though, because what he has in the back, at least one of them is probably going to be physical, but I think stopping the Electrode from taunting Landorus is going to be really beneficial. Now we'll just drop a Shadow Ball into the Volcarona. So we taunt, gets an Energy Ball, does not knock out Spectre, but Heat Wave will take the double KO. So not my greatest lead, but we do have two good Pokemon to bring in now. The Intimidate's kind of wasted, unfortunately, but Lycanroc is incredibly threatening here with the Accelerock. Unfortunately, I think the Electrode might still knock us out. especially if you Terra grasses, and us not having Protect here is a big issue. So if we look at our Lycanroc set into Electrode, if he's not Choice Specs, yeah, Energy Ball is going to KO us. And Accelerock might KO him, but he did show some bulk. He can only Terra one Pokemon here, and I think it probably will be the Volcarona. Dang, this is really tough, because Fire Terra would mean I'm weak to probably the Tinglu in the back. So I think I will Terra the Lycanroc, hoping it can live the Onslaught that's about to come out this turn. And Accelerock into... I mean, what's the problem here? The problem is probably the Volcarona, right? If we can get rid of Volcarona, we can win. So I will Accelerock into that. And I will just Swords Dance on Landorus. So we do get the Accelerock. Oh, he's the Rock Berry and immediately gets the burn. Okay. We live the Energy Ball pretty easily, but Heat Wave is going to knock us very low. So Landorus has to do some amazing things here for us to be able to pull this game back. So he is Charty Berry on Volcarona. That's good to know. He didn't tear either Pokemon, which honestly surprises me. I think I can just Accelerock. If he has Protect on Volcarona, he goes for it here. And then I will just Stomping into the Electrode. So he does not opt to go for Protect. If he does have it, Life Orb will knock us out. Energy Ball does 28 this time to Landorus. We get our Citrus Berry back and we knock out the Electrode. So it's now a 1v2 Landorus versus Sylveon and Hands. Okay. So last time on Hands, we saw that it had Fake Out, we saw that it had Drain Punch and Wild Charge. I anticipate the last move to be Ice Punch. We saw that our Stomping Tantrum does not KO Sylveon. And Sylveon's really not the threat here because this is our last turn of Light Screen, so we can at least take one Hyper Voice. So I think our only play is Tantrum. I guess Protecting made sense there because of Fake Out. Okay, Protect Yawn, got it. Yeah, that's a folly on my part. I said Fake Out, completely forgot about it. So we'll just Tantrum into the Hands. We do knock it out, so we do see that it's really not a defensive Hands. So there is a world where we can win, I think. I don't know, single target Hyper Voice probably knocks us out here. Oh, okay, Water Terra Blast, that's really smart. So he did bring the Terra Blast on the Sylveon, does knock us out. And that takes us to game 3. So we'll take a few more notes, think a little bit about my play, and we'll be back. So for game 3, it's pretty tough. He maintained that Electrode lead, and that was really surprising to me. I feel like it was really bad into Breloom. So the fact that he just left it in was, I mean, well played on his part, you know, because he outplayed me by maintaining it as the lead where I changed mine, and it made me a lot weaker into that lead. Grimmsnarl getting screens is still important here, but I feel like I need more offense in my lead to help me deal with his more bulky Pokemon. I do like leading the Breloom. Again, this time, I think, you know, fool me once, you know, you got me good, but hopefully game 3, we bring it back. I gotta say, the Spectre set is not doing as much as I thought it would. The Para definitely didn't help last game. If we had not gotten paralyzed, I think we might have been okay to switch it out and play that in-game differently. To help against the Volcarona and the Electrode lead, I think I will actually lead the Delphox this time. Trick Room is completely wasted on it. There's no point in me going for it. But just Dual Stab and Will-O-Wisp is really nice as a lead. I think Landorus still needs to come. Obviously, it one-shots Hands. It one-shots Tinglu. I still have not revealed Hammer Arm, so he may not anticipate it. I think Grimmsnarl, normally I regret not bringing it, but I just don't know if it's the right Mon into this amount of offense. He's just dumping attacks, and whatever my side Mon is having trouble dealing with it. But honestly, if we led with Grimmsnarl Delphox, maybe that's the play. Because we can get the screens up. Delphox threatens everything on his team at least a little bit, and I can also burn these 3 physical attackers. and Heat Wave does a ton of damage to Electrode. Then we can bring the Landorus in the back, and I actually think we could bring back Breloom. It sounds weird, but I think it could be useful to have that Focus Sash chilling in the back. So we do lead these two. He brings the Electrode, same lead as last time. Okay, that's cool to see. We know that this guy is just Heat Wave. That's the only move we saw from it last time. So I will go for a Light Screen first this time. I did learn my lesson. And I think I can just go for a Heat Wave here. If we look at our Delphox into Electrode, Heat Wave might one-shot. He has bulk, so we probably do more like 90%, but we can still go for it. So I set up a Light Screen. He's immediately attacking into the Grim, Heat Waving again. And our Heat Wave back does a ton of damage to the Electrode. So that's good to see. We ended up taking a lot less damage on Grim than we did last time, so that's nice. Reflect really doesn't matter at the moment, but it probably will matter shortly in the future. I am still worried this is Quiver Dance. So I can taunt it. I do think he probably protects this or switches it out, but he really doesn't have a great switch in into Heat Wave. He didn't bring any of his Fire Resist. So I could also just Spirit Break and do, minimal damage. So I think my best play is to taunt the Volcarona and just go for another Heat Wave. So we do go for a taunt. He Energy Balls Grim this time. We're faster, so it's a speed tie. And he misses Heat Wave. Did I miss something? 135. I think we're speed tying. That's crazy. Yeah, because I went first that time. He went first last time. So that makes things a lot more complicated because 50-50s are never very fun. So I crept Delphox to be one faster than a lot of his Pokemon, and it seems he's done the same, anticipating me to do that. So Sylveon comes in. Another Heat Wave will not knock out Grimmsnarl. Oh, we actually avoided the last one. No, another Heat Wave won't knock me out. So it really just depends on what this Sylveon wants to do. I think the Sylveon might try going for a Yawn, so I will taunt it, knowing the Volcarona can't knock out Grimmsnarl. I could Heat Wave. It won't knock out his Volcarona. Psyshock is another option that will knock out his Volcarona, but it could also do a sizable chunk to Sylveon. So we do not know the Sylveon is slightly physically defensive. Yeah, Psyshock's doing like 40%, so that's not bad. So just taunting, but the only problem with that is if he protects. I think Breloom actually looks pretty good into Sylveon, being able to Spore it, so if we can go ahead and get him down to 2 Pokemon, I think that would be preferred. So we'll taunt Sylveon. He does go for the Heat Wave, he misses again. Sorry about the misses. That's really unfortunate. It looks like it doesn't matter, because Hyper Voice will just knock out Grimmsnarl here. And Sylveon's now forced into just going for Hyper Voice and Water Tera Blast here. So his last mon is definitely physical, so we can bring in the Landorus, but it is weak to the Water Tera. So I think I will bring in Breloom first. Alright, nice. So he brings in Hands. I think I can protect with Breloom here so it doesn't get faked out, doesn't get its sash broken. And I can just try to burn the Hands. That will make it a non-issue for Landorus in the endgame. It is Tera Water, so if it's Tera Blast last move, that could be an issue, but we do have the Tera Steel available to us. So we'll try to burn the Hands. Okay, so he Teras the Sylveon. We protect our Breloom. He fakes it out. He probably Tera Blasts into Delphox. We miss Willow. Pretty normal for us. Makes this endgame a little more difficult. We do get an Intimidate on both Pokemon. He is still taunted, so I do get a free Spore into the Sylveon here. It really just depends on if this is Ice Punch last move, because if it is, I always Terrastalize here. But if it's not, then I don't, because that means he can Wild Charge me for more damage. I think my best play is just to go ahead and Terrastalize and Sword Stance though. Sylveon's definitely the bigger threat here, so we'll try to knock it out next turn. We do put Sylveon to sleep, Sword Stanced up the Landorus. He takes his first turn to sleep, and he is Ice Punch. Okay, glad we could confirm that. That's really nice to see. So Sylveon did take its first turn of sleep. It might try to protect out of it here. Uh, I think what we can do is just Bullet Seed into the Sylveon and go for a Tantrum into the hands. I guess this must have been AV hands in the end. I really did think the Ting Lu had the Assault Vest, but this is shown 4 attacks. So unless it's resist berry that's not ground resist, then it's definitely not anything other than Assault Vest. So good to know. I'm glad we're 2 weeks in a row of just completely whiffing our attack, our Will-O-Wisp. Alright, so Bullet Seed KO Sylveon, and Tantrum takes out hands. We do win. So we are not on the fast decline to losing out on playoffs in the last 3 weeks. We did just clinch our spot. We've made it a lot harder on Temple to make playoffs. He's got 2 other opponents that essentially need to lose at least 1 more game for him to get in. But I do think Temple is a fantastic battler. He's great at VGC. I think he might be newer to the draft scene. I'm not absolutely sure. But I know this guy is an amazing battler, and I expect great things from him, if not this season, then next season. So yeah, I feel like that went pretty well. I think we identified what we did and didn't need to bring to this battle, and it ended up paying off in the end. So if you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. I'd really love to hear from you, and we'll see you next week.